thank you both very much for taking the time. I've been familiar with both of your outputs prior to the show, but Ginny and Georgia really has taken off in a big way. So I'll throw it to Ben first. Ben, did you know, hey, this is going to be a viral major series that people actually pay attention to the music to? Or did it just start off as, hey, it's a gig?
Um, well, I will just say that the creator is an old friend of mine, and I actually got to read the script right when it got sold to Netflix before it was in production. And it was clear even from the very first pilot script that it was definitely like remember thinking at the time, this is going to be popular. I'm not a big script reader. That's not like a thing I do a lot. And I don't feel like I have like special insight into anything like that, but it was clear to even me that it had a lot of elements. And now when I think about the first episode, that's not even close to the best episode of this show. I mean, it's just gotten better and better from there. So it's really blown me away. And I had felt the minute that it became a possibility for something that Lili and I to score,
Mhm.
it was always going to be more than a gig for sure. It was always going to be a very special, deep, and interesting project, in part because I'm such an old friend of the creator, and people tend to write what they know. There's a lot of things in the show inspired by things that I recognize, which is a lot of fun for me. So that's just a whole other elements, and working with an old friend and all that stuff. There's a lot in this show that made this gig really special to me from the beginning.
Hmm. Lili, totally different question for you. I first became aware of you when you were on a major label in the late 90s and you're touring with Matchbox 20 and that kind of a
Oh, wow.
deal. Now, when did you realize that scoring and writing projects along these lines was going to be the career path as opposed to chasing hits?
Uh, well, I scored my first film about 12 years ago. I was part of Hans Zimmer's team as a violinist and singer. I love being in the room with directors. I love being in the room with, I respond well to drama, and I was a child actress. So
Mhm.
I had a lot of I really respond emotionally to things. And so rather than being a character in the show, I I'm a character as a music person, and I contribute emotionally. So it seemed like a really natural fit. And then I had some luck. The first film I scored got into Sundance and won a bunch of awards, and I did the Sundance Labs, and I did mostly indie films. I didn't know, nothing really broke, but I loved the art I was making. And people asked me if I wanted to do television, and I really was a little scared about it because of the schedule, and I wanted to make sure it was something that I was really well suited to, so it would be a natural fit. So when Ben called me and asked me if I wanted to pitch on this, I thought I would be in good hands because I knew that he was, amazing composer, and just had a really great work ethic. And we were friends. We were on the same, technically we were on similar, we work on the same program, which is a big deal. Scoring has just been, it's a very natural step for me as a musical person, and I still make albums, and I won a Grammy 2 years ago. So it's I haven't put myself out to pasture yet, but to your question, not chasing hits has been, escaping the tyranny of the hit song, is a great liberator for the muse. Just kind of consulting my angels and my consciousness, my muse, about like, what is the music that really wants to come through now? That's the greatest question. That's the privilege of a lifetime, to quote Joseph Campbell.
Good reference. Well, Ben, I can't follow up greatness in terms of another and awesome question, but I'll try. And that is, what was it about this project that made you went, Lili is the collaborator? For example, did you hear in your head, okay, we want more strings oriented stuff? Or was there actually direction as to what they wanted?
Well, I will say that I think even from the reading of the script, I had some ideas. I didn't get like, it's not like I read the script and I was offered this job. It was really just a friend to friend thing. And I sort of broadly talked with my friend Sarah Lampert at the time, like, oh, how cool it would be to be able to work on something that's so personal to me. But one thing about Lily's a very versatile composer. She plays the violin beautifully also, and she just has a whole range of talents in the scoring, coming from a very emotional place. One of those things is her voice, which she's a wonderful singer. And I had always felt, because the project is so female, even from reading the script, that the use of a female voice, wordless voice, is just a very powerful and emotional thing, and that's one of Lily's tools in her toolbox, her vast toolbox. So I definitely wanted somebody who had that skill, and just having a partner on this job that comes from a little bit of a different background than me is also really valuable, because we have different skill sets, and these types of jobs can be pretty intense, and so they sometimes require different skill sets to solve creative problems and get something that everybody is going to like. Meaning the people who make these shows. I mean, filmmaking and television making is so collaborative. There's a lot of voices. So I think it was those two things. I mean, somebody who's versatile, has a different skill set than me, and can produce beautiful female vocals is, those were all things that were swirling around in my head, I think.
Well, Lili, you mentioned the magic name of Hans Zimmer, and I may or may not have known other people who've made it through that boot camp where you basically work nonstop and you learn, and then eventually you branch out on your own and can do your own thing. How does the style that you started with before Hans compare to your composing style these days?
Well, just to be clear, I was brought in as a member of his team as a player and singer. So I'm like the voice of the scary mermaids in Pirates of the Caribbean, and scaring children in perpetuity at Disneyland. But I'm one of the voices. So I did not have the benefit of being one of the the people that like learned like this, like all of the technical aspects. I wish that I had been. My approach is very much more, I think it always was, everything always comes from melody and emotion for me. That's where I start. And it's certainly, I try to learn something and refine my craft every day. So, the Hans world really gave me a sense of, well, for obviously the breadth of, how big a score can be. That's, I can't, you can't out Hans. So I decided to, just really stick with I'm just refining my voice every day. It's more emotional, it's more abstract. It's, I try to navigate walk the tightrope of complex emotions in everything I do. So I've got another film coming out. I've got a film coming out on Netflix in the next couple of months called Split at the Root. It's very dark. It's about the families that have been separated at the border. And I love that. It's hard, I really just go, I think of it actually like an actor, like an improvisational actor, where, the answer is always yes. You just have to take your lead from whatever's happening. So yes, and so it's a very much yes and situation. I have my melodic sensibility. I have an emotional compass that I do my best to kind of keep my emotional innocence. And I think that that's what I bring to the table of any project. And so it's constantly evolving, and I learn from Ben, and we learn from each other. It's very exciting.
Ben, I just learned a lot right there, and Lili, apologies for the confusion about the Hans factoid. I misquoted you on that one, but Ben, am I picking up things correctly in that you're a little more structured in terms of what you're composing, and then you give your collaborator room to expand upon it?
That is definitely one way to describe how we work together. I mean, I think that the way that we tend to work together is we sort of divide up after we have a spotting session where we talk with the showrunner and creator about where music should go and what it should be. We kind of divide up the individual pieces, and we both sort of take our own separate stab at whichever ones we've assigned each other, which might kind of be based on like who has an idea, or if they have something where they want female vocals, Lili might start with it, for example, or violin or something like that. That's very specific to her skill set and a skill that I don't have. She might do that. And then, so we'll sort of both take that first pass, and then we might send it to each other to add things to. And then in the second pass, or when it's time to do notes, we might do notes on the cue that the other person wrote. We might add our thing to it to try and accomplish what the creators are trying to do. Or if it's a rewrite, the other person, you know, I already took a stab at this, so why don't you try it? Mine didn't work. Maybe yours will work. But I would say for us as a team, I probably am the more, I can never remember if it's right brain or left brain, which is the one that's like highly logical.
I don't know.
He's very left brain. I'm more right brain, but I'm also very left brain.
Yeah.
I think I may have sold myself short here. I scored 20 movies, so by
Yeah.
myself. So I'm capable. I just, but yes, we definitely divide and conquer.
Yeah. I'll just say that like it sometimes like I am very puzzly. I do sometimes approach this stuff like it's a puzzle, which can be good and sometimes can be a little boxing in. And so sometimes you need somebody who's outside of that box. And so there are definitely solutions that work for, or situations where each of our approaches work to solve those creative problems.
And
That
Ben is
makes
also, Ben may have, he's not just a left brain guy. He's incredibly creative and is a phenomenal improviser. And the fluidity with which he approaches his composing is really exceptional. And he's got like this amazing piano chops, and it's just a pleasure to play with him. And his musicianship, I mean, he's just stellar. So he's not just a logical guy.
Mutual Appreciation Society, that's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my last question for both of you is kind of a random one, but it's your craft, it's your passion, but when you listen to music, it's obviously not exactly what you're composing. So I was curious what your last concert that you went to for fun is. And if you have to think about that, no worries, because sometimes musicians I speak with go, I haven't been to a concert in 5 years. Why would I go to one?
Last concert I went to was at Disney Hall. It was a concert that Hildur Gvatner, or whatever, however you pronounce her last name, curated, and it was a bunch of Icelandic, it was a whole Nordic night. So it was a lot of suicides happened afterwards. Sorry.
Dark.
It was there was a 20-minute solo triangle concerto. And it was amazing, actually. But yeah, that was the last concert. And it was actually the first concert that I went to after since the world shut down. And it was amazing to be in a room with people listening to live music again. I realized how much I miss it.
I can imagine. I think it was a year and a half before I went to a concert. For other people, they still have not gone to a concert and have no plans. And other people in Florida, they never stopped going to concerts. So you never know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Ben, do you have a last concert answer?
The last concert I went to was great. It was this group called, the group is called Scary Pockets. And then there is, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They are this group of sort of studio musicians that do these somewhat impromptu, amazing funk covers of popular songs And they're all over Spotify, and they have it's sort of a collective. So there's like a different singer all the time. I love their arrangements. There is a subset of their group where they play with this pianist called Larry Goldings. His name's Larry.
Yeah, I know Larry, James Taylor's guy. John Mayer,
And
et cetera.
we dubbed that project Scary Goldings. So I went to go see Scary Goldings featuring John Schofield, who I haven't seen since I was at Berkeley like 15 years ago or 12 years ago. It was wild. I mean, John Schofield, I think, is in his 70s now, and he still can, play like amazing. I mean, he's still amazing. And the funny thing about those guys, so Scary Pockets, they're the original people. They were up there on stage the whole time. One of them's a guitarist, one of them's a keys player, and Larry Golding's also a keys player, and John Schofield's also a guitarist. Those guys, the Scary Pockets guys, they did not take a single solo the entire night. They just left it all for John and Larry, and they were just like, it was like I could tell, because those guys are like my age or maybe a little older than me, that they were just playing with their heroes. They're like, I don't want to step on anything these guys are going to do. They were just grooving and comping the whole time. It was a very cool concert, and I could sort of see in those guys, like, I could relate to them as like how cool it would be to just sort of get to play on stage with your heroes. So that was a cool concert. That was down at the Echoplex over here.
My follow-up question was that show at the Baked Potato? But you clarified, no, Echoplex.
Nah, not this time.
Well, thank you both for speaking with me and for the many years of great music. And I'm looking forward to whatever's to come next from both of you.
Thank you so much. Actually, if I could just share one little thing.
Sure.
I have a band called Opium Moon, and we just put out a new single, and it's very special to me. And I would love to be able to, in fact, I'm going to share the link in the chat. If you feel that you are able to share this.
We will put it in the article, and I got some homework to do between that and Soul Pockets.
Scary Pockets.
That too.
And this is a new song. It's in solidarity. We're world music from another world. It's this really kind of eclectic, beautiful, passionate music. And this song is in solidarity with the women of Iran and people who love human rights around the world. And to me, it's actually in alignment with the kind of women empowerment theme of Ginny and Georgia. So I'm gonna go with that. So here's the link. Thank you so much, and great to talk with you.
Paltrocast.